brains are wonderfully efficient and extremely good at organizing. Our brains are constantly categorizing new pieces of information for us, and they're labeling, sorting, and filing away all day long. They can tell you that this thing is a musical instrument, and when you hear a song, I bet your brain can quickly place it into a genre of music. It tells us if the song is happy or sad, and all day long we are labeling things, people, places. Our brains, they love to make things easy. They want us to feel safe, and while this can be wonderful, it can also be very harmful. If you've ever heard of binary thinking, you know that our brains tend to overly simplify concepts, ideas, and problems into either or perspective. They take out all the subtleties and in-betweens. They simplify things for us. It's only one thing or the other. Old or young, right or wrong, male or female, left wing or right wing, nature or nurture, gay or straight, good or bad. These are simple, neat little categories. But with binary thinking, we also have the non-acceptance of anything outside of these categories. There's no room for subtlety with all this all or nothing thinking. As a professional songwriter, when I started writing songs, I was told that to write a great song, you must envelop one feeling and really hone in on it. Just the one for the whole song and really tell that story. At the beginning of a songwriting session, someone would say, "What are we writing today? A sad song or a happy song? A breakup song or a love song?" If it's sad, you must make it sound sad, get the piano and violins, write a ballad. If it's happy, there must be claps and whistles and lyrics about sunshine and clarity, blue skies, make it obvious. This simplified the process of songwriting, for sure. I knew what words and metaphors to use if I was pitching a song for a certain advertisement or writing a tune for a particular type of TV show. But truly great songs, in my opinion, capture much more in between these extreme emotions of happy or sad. Because a true story of heartbreak reflects back to a time of joy. And a story of joy must come from a former place of sadness or struggle, or maybe even contentment or indifference. There's so much in between these simplified labels of human emotion. Just as within primary colors, we find 100 more shades of each color. This is one of my favorite quotes from the songwriter who wrote Over the Rainbow. "Words make you think a thought, music makes you feel a feeling, a song makes you feel a thought." We must take time to look for everything in between and around the concepts of binaries. Music can also be divided by genre: country, rap, pop, folk, R&B. As an independent artist, I've always struggled to choose one genre to write in. And that's what the music industry told me I would need to do to be an artist. I needed to pick a genre and stick to it. For a record label to be interested, I needed to label myself. First, I needed to be easy to place in a box so that people knew what to expect. I needed to be marketable. But each song I wrote took on a new genre, a new feeling, a new style. Was I all over the place, or did I simply not know which box to be in? Because I didn't fit in any of the boxes that I was placed. Music, of course, also has subgenres. Were there more genres to explore? Were there some not yet identified? What was I looking for? I gave up on writing in one genre. I did, however, choose one instrument, the most relentlessly joyous instrument that there is to write with, a ukulele, and it felt like anything I wrote had an undertone of pleasantness, of reassurance. I couldn't put it down. It brought me peace. It eased much of the anxiety and depression that I'd been struggling with for years. And every song, even with darker lyrics, would still have a hint of light, of softness. I was told by a music exec that I'd be more successful if I only used the ukulele for happy songs and write granola commercials. And it seemed that no matter the song context or what other instruments were in the songs I was writing, if it had ukulele in it, I was labeled ukulele music. Around the same time, I was struggling with labels in another aspect of my identity as well, my sexuality. Growing up when I did, in a fairly small town, I didn't know that there were sexualities other than straight or gay. These were the two options. And according to the movies and TV shows that always showed lesbian and gay characters struggling, I thought that it'd be much safer and easier to keep this part of me to myself. Bisexuals are 52% of the lesbian, gay, and bisexual community. The largest part of the community, and I had no idea there was such a community. A very quiet majority. But then I learned about bi erasure and what society has done to erase bisexuality. And it comes back to this binary thinking. Bi erasure, or bisexual invisibility, is a pervasive problem in which the existence or legitimacy of bisexuality is questioned or denied outright. Bisexuals experience almost an equal lack of acceptance from gays and lesbians as they do from heterosexuals. Many bisexual women are accused of wanting attention and assumed to secretly be straight, while bisexual men are often seen as not ready to fully come out as gay. I find it interesting that in both situations, the bisexual person is assumed to only be attracted to men. Stigma around bisexuality comes from stereotypes about bisexuals being greedy, confused, in a phase. These are perfect examples of how binary thinking prevents us from accepting a label outside of the binary of straight or gay. In a phase or confused suggests that the individual must be on their way to one of these labels. I mentioned earlier that binary thinking can have harmful repercussions. And research is just now catching up with the long absence and overlook of the bi community. In 2019, the HRC Foundation, in partnership with the University of Connecticut, released the groundbreaking Bi+ Youth Report, which details the experiences of Bi+ LGBTQ youth. To help your brain categorize the term Bi+, if you're not familiar, here's the general idea of the Bi+ umbrella. The report analyzed responses from nearly 9,000 young people. It revealed elevated levels of stress among 13 to 17-year-olds, as well as an overwhelming lack of comfort in being open about their identity at home and in school. Here are just a few additional things we've learned about the bi community. Bi men and women suffer from mood disorders and anxiety at higher rates than gays, lesbians, and heterosexuals. 85% of Bi+ youth usually feel worried, nervous, or panicked, while 81% usually feel depressed. 68% of Bi+ youth report being teased or treated poorly because of their sexual orientation. Nearly 1/2 of bi women and 1 in 3 bi men have considered or attempted suicide. Bisexuality is not 50% straight, 50% gay. It is 100% bisexual. And even the prefix bi in bisexual is misleading, as it does not simply mean the attraction to two genders, but 2 or more genders. As we see in the 1990 Bisexual Manifesto, bisexuality is a whole, fluid identity. Do not assume that bisexuality is binary, that we must have 2 sides, or that we must be involved simultaneously with both genders to be fulfilled human beings. In fact, don't assume that there are only 2 genders. More people today are coming out as bi, and yet, less than 1% of LGBTQ+ grant funding goes to bisexuals. I have never felt confused about being bi, but I have felt the confusion of others, of not knowing where to place me, of quickly finding the closest thing they can to categorize this part of my identity. I eventually came out in an interview with Billboard magazine in 2018, but it was unplanned and very much on accident. At the time, I labeled myself an openly supportive LGBTQ+ ally. And in my opinion, the only person who needed to know my sexuality was my partner and a few close friends who had paid attention to my dating history. But when the person from Billboard who interviewed me stated early in the phone interview that they really enjoyed my music and the non-binary themes of my new song, and they told me that they themselves were bi, that was all the permission I needed to say, me too. I felt relieved. I felt seen. I felt automatically accepted. I was, of course, panicked when I hung up the phone and realized none of our chat was off the record. I knew what had happened because During my time at university, I actually assisted with research in the world of social affirmation. Because I felt secure about my songwriting, I was affirmed, I was less defensive and more open about this other aspect of myself. People respond to information in a less defensive and more open-minded manner when their self-worth is reinforced by an affirmation of an alternative source of identity. Self-affirmed individuals are more likely to accept information that they would otherwise view as threatening, and subsequently to change their beliefs and even their behavior in a desirable fashion. And I'm sure I could have called the publication back, said I was just spreading the supportive message for the community, but instead, I called a few family members to make sure that they heard it from me first. And I'm really glad I did, because it changed everything. Every time a bisexual person makes their bi+ identity known, that is a form of activism. I started sharing my experience as a bi person in my songs. Thousands of people sent me messages. They felt seen, they felt celebrated. Many of them admitted that they are not out as bisexual, but they wanted me to know that they are there, that they exist, and that they see me too. Because someone else had come out to me, I felt more secure being out myself. Someone else being visible allowed me to be visible. So I started the Love is Gay benefit concert, a community-based event that features bi+ musicians, artists, vendors, and we traveled to more than 10 US cities, performing alongside local bands, building spaces for community, and raising funding for local LGBTQ+ organizations in every city. We gave a space for everyone to be seen. And I've traveled to bisexual events and discussions all over the world to learn as much as I can, to show up, to continue the conversation and advocate for the bi community. Now, when it comes to my music, I fall into a few different categories still. I write in the genre that I'm feeling that day. I'm following the emotions, and I'm changing the instruments with the story that's coming to life before me. I don't worry about what genre someone else would place it in, but I do hope that people enjoy the song, and at the very least, that I enjoy the song. And when people ask me what type of music I make, I reply that I'm more of a mixtape. When we look beyond the boundaries of binary thinking, there is room to be yourself. Be yourself. Do not put on labels for other people's convenience if those labels don't fit you. Explore your labels. Rewrite them in a different font. Maybe use a different color. Explore your genres. Pick up a new instrument. Challenge the thinking that divides us into categories. Because the more you that you can be, the more other people will be themselves too. And the less you hide who you really are, the more someone else can see themselves. I'll be closing with a few lyrics from my song Together, and I hope that today you can take some time to look around you and see what is without the need to label everything. To simply see everything and feel everything as it is. Go, time to explore. We want more. Say you want something new. That same old thing, it just won't do.